For Asgard, the question is, or topic of this video is the church dying? Is Christianity dying? I want to start off with this quote from Thor Ragnarok. This is stated by Thor. After Thor, electrocutes or Loki, he says, life is about it's about growth, it's about change, but you seem to just want to stay the same. And when we look at evolution, whether various types of evolution, the Darwin evolution, growth as a person evolution, change, business evolution to evolve, and things like that. Evolving and growth is very important, because when you remain the same, you don't grow, you don't learn, you tend to die off eventually. Some may die off early, some may die off a little later. But when you don't evolve or grow or adapt to change, or change things from time to time, your company, your group tends to die off. I think the problem or reason why Christianity is dying, I'm not 100% sure if it's actually dying. I don't have the stats. It would be hard to say. I think the reason why Christianity or the church is dying because they're always stuck in the past. When they're reading that book, the Bible, they're always stuck in the past. They've been stuck in the past for over thousands of years now. Where's the growth? Where's the change in the Bible? Where is, part 2 of the Bible? What about now? What about things that happen in the present? Things that happened 20 years ago? We don't know. That's not in the Bible. We're always reading about the past. Or they are always reading about the past. Therefore, they don't grow. There's no change. There's no evolution. A lot of the people in the church now are some of the old timers. And they're dying off. They're dying off. This new generation is coming into play. I can't say, I can't say the church has not evolved. The church has evolved in some aspects. Like, when you look at the old time, Christians, it's some of them were just rigid. You know what I'm talking about. They go to church. Everything's about Jesus. They wear their hats. They wear their frack. They wear their suits. They preach. They're all about Jesus. But in today's day, lately in present day, it has evolving. Some of the churches are more hip hop. Some of the churches are prosperity. They're more edgy. They're more pop culture. They're bringing in that stepping. They're bringing in their dancing, rapping. I can't say it isn't evolving in some way, but the church is still stuck in the past. When you read the Bible, you're still stuck in the past. There's no evolution. What about a part 2? What about an update? So you get no update. So I think the reason why the church is somewhat dying is they're doing the same things. Obviously, there's some change. As I just mentioned. But at the end of the day, it's the same thing. You're reading about the same stories every day. And they've been doing this for their whole lives. For thousands of years. The same scriptures every time. The same talking points. And obviously new generation, new people come in and out of the church, and they're like, I'm bored of this. I want something new. I want something fresh. And when you get something new and fresh in this church, other Christians are like, that's not of God. They'll say, God is not in this house. God is not in this church. This is wicked. This is sinful. So a lot of these Christians, they just want that boring, stale, outdated type of, church. And that's the reason why a lot of people, even, pastors, I'll get into that a little bit, are leaving. It's the same mumble jumble every day, every week, every Sunday. Same thing. Same structure. A lot of these churches are doing the same structure for many years. The same exact thing. You come, you sit, you sing a few songs, you give them money, sing another song, hear preacher, you go to the altar, you leave, and you come back at night for some churches, you come back another day and during the week, come back on Sunday, do the same exact thing. And the new gen, they're being exposed to a lot of things outside of church. New things. Look at society in general. A lot of things evolve. Whether we want it to or not, they evolve. Money. Using cars, digital, using your phone now. Music has evolved. Some aspects in sports have evolved. Movie genres have evolved. Whether or not you like these movies or not, they've evolved. They have changed for some. Whether it's good for the better for the worse, they have changed. They're not just doing the same genres every day, every year. We get different. Obviously, there's exception, but we're getting different type of movies now. We don't get that 90s types of movie. We don't get that 80s type of movie. We're getting these new movies. Whether they're remakes or not, it's a different type of feel, different type of movie. Look at basketball. Basketball has evolved. The play style, back in the day was more X's and O's. Now today it's just 3-pointers and it's entertainment. Things have evolved. But the church remains the same. It remains the exact same. Obviously, again, there are some things that change, but they're still doing the same thing. Whether or not this is a hip-hop type of church, they're still doing the same thing. You come, you sit, and you listen. Come, sit, listen, and that's it. And I wonder, why can't churches be more interactive? Why do churches all have to be the same thing? We're all sitting in the same direction, listening to this person. Why can't it be a little different? Why can't it be more interactive? Why can't it be like tables, group up, and more like a group discussion type of things? More therapeutic type of things, but it's the same thing. You sit, you look in the same direction, you sing songs, listen to a preacher, you give your money, you go home. Why not have it more interactive kind of church? Obviously, I know why, because it's business, and it's a system that has been working for the last, let's say, hundreds of years. But I think that's the reason why church is dying, because they're just doing the same thing over and over again. And the new generation has had enough of it. And the new generation is being exposed to various things out in the world. Whether or not if it's actually truth, as in a lot of people are discovering that the Bible is nonsense. They're discovering, things about Egypt. They're discovering things about Africa. They're discovering who the natives are. They're discovering gematria. They're discovering who runs the world. They're discovering the Jesuits. They're discovering a lot of things now. And it makes the Bible and the Christian church nonsense. Here we have all these things happening in the real world that are true, that we can prove. But you're stuck in church and you can't prove a damn thing. And a lot of pastors lately have been leaving. A lot of pastors have been leaving the church. Many of them, I would say, are discovering the truth. Many of them, they cannot prove what they're preaching. Many of them are just tired. This is just me talking. Are just tired of the same redundant structure. Go to church, listen, preach. It's the same thing. And like I said at the beginning, life is about change and growth. When you're in the church, you can't really change and grow. You got to stay the same person. Got to stay with this Jesus thing and talking about the same old stories, which really can't relate to now. Those people in the so-called biblical days could not compete now. They could not compete now. We're today's people in the last 100, 400 years are up against something a lot stronger, bigger than whatever they did with in the biblical days. We have the the toxicity in schools, in the workplace. We have technology, social media, dealing with your bosses, dealing with drunk drivers, drugs, the music, sports. We're dealing with a lot more than what they were dealing with. They didn't have schools. They didn't have to go to schools. Didn't have to really work. I mean, some worked and whatever, but didn't have to go to a workplace where they have all these rules and have all these other stories happening, incidents happening. They didn't have that. If anything, we're going through a lot more than what they did. So why isn't the Bible being updated? And obviously, I get it. There has been different types of Bibles out there, different types of translations out there. But from the forefront, we're always talking about the same stories. The same Jesus died for 3 days and resurrected. But what about after? What about after? What about all of us that have been dealing with this society? We don't get no other part about that. And I think, again, it's the lack of evolution, the lack of growth that the church, Christianity, has. And a lot of pastors are leaving. I think, in my opinion, a lot of them, for the most part, are working because they're waking up due to the truth. They're discovering that Christianity doesn't really make any sense, and it doesn't make any sense for something you don't really have to prove, where you only have to have faith, hope, and close your eyes and talk to something that you can't see or hear. It really doesn't make sense. And if you're always going to be talking about the past and saying you have to have faith, you're going to get a lot of questions. You're going to get a lot of people leaving. Simple as that. Because some people cannot rely on faith alone. And if this God is so real, and is watching all of us, can it not see that this faith thing, this church structure, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. Look at the church. Look at the stuff that has been going on in the church. There's so much issues going on in the church. And this God wants us to be in these churches. This God wants us to be in these churches when there are still so many problems there. There's no point. If there's problems outside the church and in the church, there's really no point of going to the church. Really no point. Yeah, and it's this whole church thing. It's a business. It was made for a lot of things. A lot of things. Business, power, control. But I think in modern time right now, it is mainly for business. It's like a pharmacy for the, I don't know if they could say spiritual, but it's more like a pharmacy for the for the dumb, I guess. I think the angry demons had to leave in Jesus' name. Demons don't exist. And we've read that some of these people are just actors. They're just actors. They just pick them, put them in the audience, and let them act. And a lot of the sheep will buy into this stuff. They will buy into this. Buy into this nonsense. This is garbage. This is garbage, man. Imagine if we were all like this. If we were all like this, society would have not have progressed to where we are today. Even though it's still, a dark society. But there's still some good aspects to it. If we were all like this, we would not be innovative of where we are today. We would not be progressing. Instead of going to doctors, teachers, or working on ourselves, we'd have to go to these pastors, preachers, and they're all liars. They're scumbags. They'll say anything that you want to hear. Imagine a world like that. We're just following preachers. That would be horrible. Because look, all these churches too, they're horrible. Where was your Jesus when I needed him? And we could say that for many people across the world that are suffering and dying in various countries and towns and valleys and in forests. As I speak around the world, people are getting shot and killed. Where is Jesus to protect them? Why didn't Jesus give them a chance for this, Christianity? A lot of people are born in places where, Christianity isn't popular. So it doesn't make sense. Born in a place where Christianity isn't popular, and if you practice Christianity, you're going to be killed or hurt. So it's like this whole Christianity, church thing, and God and Jesus, it doesn't make sense. I think as long as you're good with words and you're a preacher, you have some background like psychology, which most of these preachers, pastors do, you're going to do very well. I mean, with Christianity, the way things are, it's very easy to fool the dumb, fool the sheeple, fool the fool. But at the same time, a lot of people are questioning, they're leaving the church. They're leaving the church. Pastors, other ministers are leaving. And I think in my opinion, it goes back to the lack of evolution, of evolving. The church, Christianity, it's still stuck in the past, still doing the same boring stuff, man. We've done this before. It's time for a change. People are meant to adapt and change. Life is about change, just like I said. Life, it's about growth and it's about change. And when you remain the same, you don't go anywhere. And that's why some of these Christians remain the same. They have the same attitude, the same personality, the same outlook. And a lot of them look miserable. Especially some of these in the so-called black church. Some of them just look miserable. They love their Jesus and all that, but they still look miserable. They're still living miserable lives, but they're still stuck in the church. Because they're not evolving. They're not growing. They're not trying different things. They remain the same. And when you remain the same, you're going to suffer. You may not suffer right away. You may not struggle right away, but eventually it's going to catch up to you. And by the time you can change it, it's going to be too late. So yeah, it's just a lack of evolution, evolving. Is why I feel the church is it's why I feel the church is dying It's funny how like when I put evolve, you still get the Darwin type of evolution. And when I talk about evolution, I'm not talking about the Darwin. There's some aspects of it that I, can apply. But when I say evolve and evolution, I mean change, to adapt, to adjust, to make a difference, to do something else. Instead of every Sunday wearing the same type of clothes, going to the same place, sitting, singing the same songs, giving away your money, listening to the same nonsense that they're yelling at you, talking about the past. I get it, we shouldn't forget the past, but we gotta talk about something else here, people. And when you don't, what you get is a lot of people leaving, questioning, denouncing the church, Christianity. Anyways, leave it at that. And I say, for Asgard.